Welcome to Sparky on Ice, the coldest podcast on the internet. Today is May 2nd. I've been on ice for 70 days. Welcome back, everybody. I hope it's been a nice couple weeks for you guys. I know it's been an interesting 2 weeks for me. Just letting you guys know that, I am going bi-weekly. I think it's going to be easier to get enough content to fill up enough show that everybody wants to listen. So, from here on out, it's going to be every 2 weeks for a show, and I'm going to try and drop them on, I guess, for you guys Thursday, at the latest on Fridays. So be looking for those episodes to come out. Well, the sun is gone, and darkness has started setting in. We get a couple hours of light, and that light is like dusk more than high noon. It's kind of hard to see. Luckily, I got a light on my hat, which makes things a bit easier so I can see where I'm walking. Oddly enough, I got the only one like it on station. I figured more people would be wearing headlamps and stuff, but they don't. I mean, I don't use mine all the time. I mean, they keep the pathways fairly lit, but sometimes it's like, I don't know if this is really slippery or just, a little bit slippery. So I turn on my light and it works pretty good. But all that darkness also means hours and hours of night sky, which is really, really cool. We don't have any major light sources around here, so there's no light pollution, so you can really see the stars. And the other night, I was out behind the buildings on my way back from the library, and I looked up, and I saw the Milky Way like I had never seen the Milky Way before. It was so, so beautiful. Even better than like at Montana or, I guess, at the beach, because I've been at the beach at night, and it's not the same. There's still a lot of light pollution, and we're so far away from all other light sources. We are the light source, and all of our stuff points down. So we don't really put light in the sky here, except out by the airfields, and they're too far away to make a difference here. And looking up the stars, I noticed that they're different. I don't see the same constellations, I guess. So like back home, we've got Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Big Dipper, Little Big Dipper, and all those, those familiar ones. We don't have those. We've got like Canis Major is like our Big Dipper type star constellation. I don't know what all the names are here. So, and then like up north, you got Sirius or the North Star, and that's replaced by Crux, the Southern Cross here. That's how people navigate, because those are the ones that are always in the sky. But I think the most interesting thing is the moon. It is visible all the time unless it's a new moon, which is just the strangest thing. So it's kind of hard to explain. You can see the moon depending on the time of day, on where it is. During the day, it's in the north and west side, and at night it's on the south and east side. I think those are right. Yeah, I think those. And it's never really south. I mean, it is, but not really, because it can't really be seen from the south from here. But it always looks north, and it's always there. But there's another really cool thing about the moon here. It's backward. I'm looking at it upside down from what I'm used to, and the shadow or the sunlit part moves from right to left, and down here it moves from left to right. So the phases of the moon are also backwards, which is I think Rebecca from Ask an Atheist had asked me that once to look into that, and I discovered it, and I noticed it because we see it all day, that the shadow moves the exact opposite direction. It is so cool. And, there's also other things that I think about while I'm down here, like things that I miss. And one of the things that I do miss that most people don't think about is smells. There are no natural smells here. Everything smells like ice, and pure ice has no scent. So, I mean, not even the ocean smells because it's all frozen. And the volcanic rock really doesn't have an odor or a smell. I mean, maybe a little bit of ash, maybe, but it's not strong. And we can't get close enough to seals or penguins to smell them. So, but the one thing we do get are things we make down here, like engine exhaust or wood up at the carpentry shop or laundry exhaust and the galley smells. That's it. There's no grass, no dirt, no trees, no flowers, no animals. Most people don't even wear perfume or body spray here. There's just no smells. You don't realize how much you rely on that sense of smell until there's nothing to smell, which is, it's interesting because you don't smell any bad stuff either, but then there's no good things to smell. There's no flowers. There's no, I don't know, there's no outside smells. They're just man-made, which is no fun at all. Well, One of the things I thought that everybody would find interesting would be a history section, since most people don't know much about the exploration here. So I figured we'd start at the beginning and go from there, see how it goes. So in 1599, Dutchman Dirk Gerritz, I think that's how it's said, described the land and vicinity of the South Shetland Islands, and through the 1600s, Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, English, and French navigators penetrated south of Cape Horn. Englishman Antonio de la Roche, how is that an English name? De la Roche is not English. Reached South Georgia in the far South Atlantic in 1675. And around the same time, other voyagers described ice islands south of South America. So they'd seen bits and pieces, but never really figured it out. It had been suggested as far back, I think it's Aristotle, that there has to be a southern continent. But they'd never found it. Continuing on, the Frenchman Jean-Baptiste Charles Bouvier de Lozier, one hell of a name there, discovered the remote island that bears his name in 1739, and in 1762, Spaniard Joseph de la Llana charted rocks west of South Georgia, now called Shag Rocks. More French voyages quickly followed. Kerguelen Islands was discovered in the southern Indian Ocean by an expedition under Joseph de Kerguelen, I don't know, and Marion de Frisnes. Not very good with names, sorry about that. Expedition discovered two island groups known as Prince Edward and the Crozet, southeast of Africa. James Cook has a central place in the history of Antarctica. His circumnavigation of Antarctica from 1772 to 1775 was the first of many government-instigated expeditions to the Antarctic. Cook did not sight land, but his two ships penetrated well into the sea ice and well south of the Antarctic Circle, far enough that he was able to say with reasonable confidence that there was land over the South Pole. Cook's published account of his discoveries, including descriptions of large numbers of whales and seals in the Southern Ocean, sparked a gold rush of sorts. With a constant high demand from oil from marine animals in the late 1770s, large numbers of European and North American private voyages brought back lucrative cargoes of oil from whales and seals, as well as the pelts of seals from Antarctic and subantarctic seas and islands. And that's kind of the prehistory before they actually found the continent. When I come in with history next time, we'll get into how the oil industry, the whale and seal oil industry at the time, made inroads into the continent and started actually discovering Antarctica itself. All right, to questions. So I have two questions this week. Carrie asked, in Antarctica, are there only research stations, or are there other human settlements that you've seen or heard while you've been there? So, Carrie, there are no permanent residents on the continent. It is designated solely for research and science. In the 1950s, they signed the Antarctic Treaty, which means no government can actually lay claim to any piece of land, and there will never be military actions on the continent. And it also is not supposed to be used for commerce or to make money or anything like that. So, no, you can't live here. However, we do have people return year after year for up to 14 months. They do have to leave for 6 weeks, though, and then they can come back and do another 14-month stint. And lots of people do that. We have like a couple that lives over on Black Island. They come back every summer, and they maintain Black Island for the summer, so that when you go and you do work on Black Island, you have a place to live, and they cook for you, and it's very nice, from what I understand. And then, like, the station manager is here. You have almost permanent residents, but no one really lives here. We just stay here for a while. So, very good question. Thank you. Kelly asks, what's the most interesting historical fact you've learned throughout your time in Antarctica? Well, one of the most interesting things, I think, is the fact that the early explorers, which when we get into more history, I'll dive a little deeper into this part, but when they first started doing explorations here, as far as the actual, let's go to the South Pole type exploration, the buildings they built were pitiful. They were designed by people who had never been out of temperate Europe. They were made so poorly. Like, the Discovery Hut is made of 2 layers of wood with a piece of felt in the middle. I don't even think that'll get you through an Oklahoma winter, much less an Antarctic winter. The Discovery Hut, it was not built to hold snow. It was not built to resist the wind very well, so it drifts. The door was broken probably several times by the wind. Like I said, it drifts into the walkways, and it is impossible to heat. So most of the times they didn't even stay in the huts. They stayed in the ships until they started finally figuring out some years later how to build huts that could support them. There was, however, an expedition down here, Shackleton's expedition, where they had to live in Discovery Hut for 2 years. That's a very interesting story. It's called The Endurance. I think there's a couple movies and a book made about it, but it's really, really cool. You should check that out. But I'll get into that history when we get into the age of heroic exploration of Antarctica. And that's about all I have for you this episode. You can always find me on Twitter or Facebook at Sparky on Ice, or send me an email, podcast@sparkyonice.xyz. And until the next time, see you later.